Breaking news from downtown LA with urgency, exclusivity, and zero room for indecision. Statue season is landing at Crypto.com Arena. A Showtime architect is going bronze. A franchise legend just drew a hard line about who deserves that honor and when. And in the same breath, he sent a message straight up the chain of command about Austin Reaves and the direction of this locker room. If you blink on this one, you'll miss where the Lakers are actually steering the ship. Welcome to Lakers News Fan Report, the channel that treats this jersey like a living organism. Hit subscribe, drop a like, turn on alerts right now. Because what I'm about to lay out isn't gossip in a parking lot. It's the culture versus the calculator. The long arc versus the quick fix. The difference between sculpting a statue and sculpting a roster that can justify it. Here's the spark that lit the fuse, with the franchise preparing to honor another giant from the Showtime era in the plaza. A three-time champion who lived those runs stepped forward and said it plainly about the most polarizing question of the week. No statue for LeBron until there's another banner. Period. And then, almost in the same exhale, he told Rob Pelinka exactly what not to do with Austin Reaves. That contrast is everything. The bronze conversation is about legacy proof. The Reaves conversation is about how you get there without sacrificing the very identity that makes banners remotely possible. That's not a press conference line. That's a blueprint with a deadline. And it crashes directly into the other voice that's been booming across your feeds. A 7-time champ calling for the Lakers to cash out on Reaves while the value is hot. Two legends, two roads. Which one aligns with this room, this fan base, this city? That's what we're cutting through tonight. Let's start with the part that's easy to celebrate. Honoring a coaching icon in bronze is a reminder that this franchise doesn't do ordinary. Statues and star plaza aren't about vibes. They're about prolonged dominance, a standard so suffocatingly high that even the greatest talent in modern basketball still gets told, "Bring us two and we'll talk." That's not disrespect. That's the Lakers' constitution. And if that's the bar for immortality, it should also be the bar for every basketball decision that points toward immortality. You don't stumble into statues. You build them with rosters that make sense in April, not headlines that make noise in September. Which brings us to Austin Reaves, not as a meme or a cap line, but as a basketball solution you can see on film. He went undrafted, fought his way into the rotation, earned a team-friendly deal in 2023, then leveled up into a 20-6 creator with a live dribble, footwork that holds up under playoff speed, and a shooter's conscience that doesn't rattle when it's loud. That's the work. That's the kind of growth you reward, not because fairy tales are cute, but because repeatable process is how good teams survive the parts of the season when talent alone isn't enough to now the counter you've heard all week. Fit, redundancy, overlap. It's true two guards who like the ball and tilt the floor in similar ways can step on each other if you don't frame them correctly. But the answer to overlap isn't subtraction by panic. It's addition with intent. The league's best offenses thrive by making their redundancies complementary. You don't need clones. You need balance. A north-south guard who collapses the nail and warps rotations beside Reaves' pace control. A vertical rim finisher who catches the pocket pass and punishes tags. A long wing who lives between the 2 and the 4 and turns second side actions into 3 points and dead possessions for the other guy. Give Austin that geometry and the overlap critique dissolves into a scouting report that ends with pick your poison. Strip that geometry away and of course any creator looks replaceable. You've engineered him into a traffic jam. That's not on the player. That's on the build. The financial layer isn't a villain. It's a reality. The cap is rising, the apron bites, and that middle class of starter plus players is where front offices get queasy. That's where Reaves lives right now, too good to be a role. Not expensive enough to get you a star in a straight swap, and exactly the kind of piece you regret moving when you're down 2-1 in a series and someone has to make a read without blinking. The easy move is to treat him like a chip. The brave move is to treat him like connective tissue and plan for the build that comes with that. If you believe he's a playoff, Mainstay someone who can close next to your biggest gravity and not shrink in the riot, then you prepare for the number and you build your 9-man around his strengths and his gaps. If you don't, you trade him only for a playoff-proof skill you cannot buy elsewhere: legit point of attack length, true rim protection with mobility, or a two-way wing who shoots high-volume threes at near-elite rates, because nothing short of that meaningfully raises your ceiling. Anything else is moving furniture for the sake of looking busy. Let's step onto the floor, where the statue talk gets converted into possessions. Reaves in the middle third with a live dribble is a curriculum for good offense. He snakes pick and roll to rearrange the big's feet. He rejects the screen when a defender overplays the middle. He throws the one-handed leave dribble dart to the short row right when the low man twitches. He relocates after the pass to stretch to help one more step. Put a vertical 5 next to that, and you don't just get floaters and kickouts. You get dunks that make the weak side think twice. Put a long 3-and-D next to that, and teams pay for digging. Put a downhill guard who eats drop coverage on the other side, and the nail has to choose between late help and open threes. The differences between nice player and we can win with this are often one teammate away. Which side of that line you live on is determined by roster choices, not whether Reaves got enough mentions on a talk show. Now zoom out to the room, because Byron Scott's message wasn't just about bronze. It was about leverage. Don't make the kind of locker room decision that knocks the legs out from under the guys you're asking to run through walls in. April. This matters in Los Angeles more than anywhere. Continuity isn't romance here. It's calculus. Early offense run without a call. Second side triggers executed off a glance. The trust routes on broken plays, that's the secret economy of a 9 or 10-man playoff rotation. It's why deep teams from smaller markets scared the life out of the league last year. They weren't star-proof, they were mistake-proof. Depth is not a meme. It's insurance against slumps, whistles, and the 11-3 run that turns a series. If you really want to get LeBron into the statue conversation the way the OGs define it, you don't trade out one of your most adaptable pieces for marginal gain. You build a bench that can win the 6 minutes when the floor general sits. Then you ask your stars to be stars when it matters. That's how bronze gets earned in this town. And yes, the other legend's warning rings in a year. Don't get romantic. Trade the duplications before the bill is due. There's wisdom in the notion that too many of the same tool won't build a house. But there's a difference between duplication and synchronization. Reaves isn't a luxury item in a glass case. He's a multi-tool in a city that breaks things on purpose. You can ask him to start or steady the second group. You can ride him as a secondary creator or park him in the corner where he still grades out as a threat. He survives the noise of a hostile run by leaning into process, keep the dribble, find the advantage, make the boring pass that becomes a great shot. He doesn't abandon the script just because the camera is close. That's how playoff possessions stay sane. Are there defensive warts? Sure. Every guard who isn't 6'7", with Condor arms needs scheme help in May. That's why the mandate isn't AR must become a stopper. Mandate is give him a switchable wing and a movable 5 so his attention to detail pays off instead of getting him singled out. You protect him with scram switches, low man readiness, and toggling between show and at level. If you do that, the offense he gives you more than clears the bar. If you don't, you'll scapegoat him for roster sins. There's also the human layer other markets can ignore, but LA cannot. The way players talk about playing with Reaves, the way he invests in teammates, the quiet moments that never make a headline but build a room. Guys run harder for people they trust. They accept role tweaks when they feel seen. They sit in a film session and eat a critique without getting defensive if the voices in the room have earned the right to challenge them. AR, for all the jokes about nicknames and origin stories, is good at those boring, crucial things. That's a competitive advantage the cap table can't capture. You trade that away, you better be sure the incoming piece replaces both production and gravity in the room. So what we're getting it right. Look like at the front office. Takes the legend's advice about depth over the siren song of a headline grab? It looks like committing to a rotation where Reaves' minutes are paired with a vertical five more often than not. It looks like staggering, so he opens second quarters against more bench lineups and owns the pace. It looks like a backcourt partner who brings north-south juice so defenses can't camp and drop. It looks like a wing with 6 to 9 length who actually shoots when the ball swings, not one who pumps the brakes and invites the closeout back into the play. It looks like a 9th and 10th man who can survive schematically for 6 minutes without hemorrhaging the lead. If you do all that, Reaves' value is no longer theoretical. It becomes visible in wins. And that's when extension numbers stop feeling scary and start feeling like the cost of doing championship business. What about the Wiggins-style chatter and the temptation of a bigger wing with playoff reps? This is where discipline matters. If the price is Reaves plus real draft equity, and you're not picking up a two-way monster who demonstrably raises your May floor, you're rearranging your problems, not solving them. A wing who can guard up and still shoot volume is priceless, but only if he's healthy, engaged, and able to unlock your star's best selves. If those boxes aren't checked, you're swapping stability for a question mark in a city that doesn't forgive question marks. The goal is not to win the trade on paper. The goal is to win the possessions the trade was supposed to fix. So where do I land me? Not dodging putting my name on it. Keep Austin Reaves and build the depth that turns him from asset into engineer. Pay for process, not streaks. If a unicorn deal materializes that delivers a genuine playoff-proof skill elite, toe length or real rim protection with spacing without setting fire to your future, fine, pick up the phone like pros. But short of that, the move is internal clarity. Define his role, pair him with the profiles that maximize him, and brace the room with 9 or 10 playable adults. You do that, and the statue conversation for others suddenly becomes real again. Because statues are born from seasons where basketball choices serve the standard, not the timeline. And yes, that includes holding the line on the message the legend just handed you for free. Don't wreck the locker room to chase a headline. You've told us culture matters. Prove it by protecting one of its best carriers. Now it's your turn. Laker family, no empty takes. I want blueprints. Do you believe a deeper 9 or 10-man group is the only path to Banner 18? Or do you think a bold trade is the final ignition switch? Which skill is the true missing piece in May point of attack defense, second side shooting, vertical spacing, or big man mobility? And how does keeping or moving Reaves solve that without creating a new leak? Would you rather pay starter plus money for a guard who makes your stars' lives easier? Or roll the dice on a name that reads louder but might not sync with the room? Drop your plan in the comments. Share this with the fan who still thinks depth is a luxury and not oxygen. And lock in with a sub, because we're going to track every decision from training camp to the deadline and hold the receipts. My final word tonight: statues are promises kept. If you want to keep any more, you protect the habits in humans that manufacture wins when the whistles get tight. Austin Reaves is one of those humans. Build around that. Pay for that. If an all-timer of a deal shows up, you'll know it because it will make basketball sense in June, not just financial sense in October. Until then, don't let noise write history in a town that only respects banners.